Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a busy professional today, you know exactly what it feels like, right? You're caught in this constant, overwhelming battle against your own screens. The pings, the buzzes, the endless stream of alerts, they're just everywhere. And, honestly, they're exhausting. We spend our entire days tethered to these devices, desperately trying to carve out just a few minutes of uninterrupted time. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're unpacking a paradigm-shifting concept from a short but literally profound excerpt titled The Purpose Cure: Escaping Digital Distraction. We're going to explore exactly what this cure entails, and trust me on this, it completely flips the script on how we manage our attention, our devices, and ultimately our professional lives.
So how do we truly escape digital distraction? I mean, it really is the ultimate question of our modern working lives, isn't it? We all desperately want the answer to this. We try turning off notifications, we toss our phones in another room, we activate these complex focus modes, and we download blocking software. We end up treating our attention like this incredibly frustrating game of whack-a-mole. But the distraction? It always seems to find a clever way to creep back in. What we're really looking for is a true, sustainable escape route. We need a fundamental shift in how we operate, not just some temporary, fragile Band-Aid that rips right off the second our stress levels spike or, boredom sets in.
Right at the core of all this is our main ailment, digital distraction. And in the context of our source material, this isn't just framed as a minor annoyance or some tiny hiccup in your day. No, it is positioned as the primary enemy we are facing in our daily lives. It aggressively fragments our attention, it completely derails our deepest, most valuable thought processes, and honestly, it just leaves us feeling cognitively drained by the time the workday is over. We're spending an immense, totally unseen amount of our daily mental energy just trying to manage and filter the noise, instead of, actually doing the deep work we want and need to do.
And that draining reality leads us straight into the traditional approach, which is this endless, exhausting fight against notifications. For so long, we've treated this like a sheer battle of willpower. We grit our teeth and tell ourselves, all right, I am not going to check my phone for the next hour. But here's the catch. Willpower is a highly finite resource. By the afternoon, after a whole morning of actively fighting off the urge to check every single vibration in your pocket, you're just completely depleted. And the cost of losing that battle is massive. Research on workplace focus consistently shows that context switching, like just pausing your deep work to check a quick email or a text, literally destroys your momentum. It can cost you up to 20 minutes of lost productivity each and every time you do it. Why? Because it actually takes your brain that long to fully refocus on the original complex task. So relying on sheer willpower alone almost always fails. You're merely fighting the symptom and paying a huge productivity tax in the process, rather than fixing the underlying vulnerability.
Now, what's really interesting about this next point is the specific terminology the source text uses to introduce the actual solution. It calls it the purpose cure, escaping digital distraction by finding a life goal. Notice that powerful word there, cure. It frames purpose not just as some abstract philosophical or feel-good idea meant for a weekend self-help retreat. It frames it as an actual, functional, pragmatic remedy for our technology struggles. It's proposing that the true antidote to our constant micro-distractions isn't a micro-habit, it's a macro-vision. It's a fundamental reorientation of what we actually care about on a daily basis.
Finding a life goal. Look, this cure isn't some shiny new productivity app you download, and it is certainly not a physical phone lockbox with a digital timer. It's the deeply personal, entirely internal pursuit of a larger life goal. Actually, I experienced the power of this firsthand a few years ago. I was tasked with writing a comprehensive chapter for a book on a subject I'm just incredibly passionate about. Getting this published was a massive life goal for me. I remember sitting down at my desk at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and the next thing I knew, it was 2 p.m. I hadn't checked my phone once. I didn't even put it on silent or hide it in a drawer. I just completely forgot it existed. I wasn't fighting the urge to scroll. The urge simply vanished because I was pulled towards something far more important. And the text suggests exactly this. When you mentally and emotionally anchor yourself to something truly meaningful, the superficial pull of the digital world naturally loses its grip on your brain.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark dichotomy at play here. Without a life goal, you are highly susceptible to phone distractions. You're essentially just drifting. And when you're drifting, every single notification, every ping, every doom scroll session is a shiny object pulling you off course, mostly because there is no defined course to begin with. You're completely vulnerable to whatever the algorithm throws at you. But once you anchor yourself with a life goal, you are officially escaping digital distraction. The sheer structure, the momentum, and the weight of your ambition forms this natural, almost invisible shield around your attention. You're no longer trapped by the reactive noise of the modern world. You're breaking free through proactive purpose.
Let's see how this builds into the concept of a natural neutralization. This is such a fantastic way to process what the source text is communicating. Establishing this meaningful life goal automatically and naturally neutralizes the urge to check your phone. Think about how profound that shift is for a second. You don't have to aggressively fight the urge anymore, because the urge itself actually begins to diminish on a biological and psychological level. The immense weight and importance of your life goal simply outclasses, it just crushes the triviality of a random digital notification. It transitions from being this forced, exhausting daily discipline into an entirely organic process. Which brings us to the exact powerful phrasing straight from the source text. Finding a life goal makes phone distractions irrelevant. Take a moment to really think about that specific word, irrelevant. The text doesn't say a life goal makes distractions easier to ignore. It doesn't say it makes them less annoying or, manageable. It says it makes them entirely irrelevant. So the crucial point here is that the ultimate goal isn't to win a messy, exhausting street fight against your smartphone every single day. The true victory is making the phone cease to matter entirely in the grand scheme of what you're trying to achieve. When you're deeply, passionately immersed in building something you care about or working toward a massive personal milestone, that phone sitting on your desk just isn't a temptation anymore. It loses its psychological power over you. It basically just becomes a piece of plastic and glass sitting there on the wood. It becomes completely and utterly irrelevant to your immediate, purposeful reality. The absolute relief of this cure is summarized perfectly right here. Stop fighting, start focusing. Once you possess that overarching life goal, you can finally drop the exhausting daily defensive battle against your screen. You don't need infinite reserves of willpower anymore. You don't have to worry about constantly losing 20 minutes of your productivity to the switch cost effect of checking a random text message. Just like when I was writing that book chapter, the digital distractions simply fall away on their own because your attention is entirely, happily, and deeply claimed by your purpose. It's a massive psychological shift from always playing defense against your distractions to finally playing offense on your life.
And this leaves us with a final provocative question to challenge you. What life goal will make your phone irrelevant today? If you're a busy professional feeling constantly overwhelmed by digital noise, the answer isn't another quick life hack or a shiny new screen time app. It's finding your overarching purpose. Figure out what that major compelling goal is for you, and just watch how quickly the glowing screens fade right into the background. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, keep learning and keep focusing on what truly matters.